Rally New Zealand, the government and World Rally Championship are in talks to secure taxpayer funding to bring the championship back to Auckland regularly from 2024. Martin Devlin writes that it's a no-brainer in this week's Playing the Ball. Martin, why does this stack up for you in terms of a taxpayer funding arrangement?
Well, as I explained in the column, I mean, this is one of those easy ones. I am the Minister of Common Sense. This one comes across my desk, Hamish, you say, it's very simple. So I've abandoned the government. I've abolished all the ministries. It's just a yes or no thing, okay? And this is like, funding for the WRC in Auckland with all the tourism that it encourages, all the beautiful pictures it sends around the place, with all the obvious enjoyment that, that comes along with it as a bit. Yes, bang, done, next. That's as simple as that. But of course, it isn't as simple as that, is it? No. Because we have a sports funding body, Sport New Zealand and High Performance Sport New Zealand, who, and I've written columns about this in the past, who perhaps aren't as independent in their thinking as we would like to think that they are. I think that they're heavily influenced in societal politics by the government, and I think that this is going to be a real handicap and a stumbling block when it comes to actually getting this over the line, which is ridiculous. Which to me shows a lot of prejudice, which to me just doesn't show a lot of open-mindedness, and actually doesn't show a lot of economic sense. But I fear that this is actually going to stop before it gets to the start line. We've had this debate ever since I started working in sports broadcasting way back in the late 90s, that any time the word motorsport is mentioned, it just creates a reaction amongst those that actually
What is it? Is it because it's relatively niche, or...?
Because it's motorsport, for no other reason than it's motorsport. It's vehicles, it's noisy, it's petrol pumping and engine thumping, and it just doesn't fit the clean, green, cycle lane image that, our government likes to promote. And I think that really they've just got to open their eyes here and actually look at the big picture. And for me, obviously trying to get the economy going, and I'm just an armchair economists, like most of us are, I suppose. Tourism, of course, is our biggest international money earner, and it has been for a very long time. To get people into the country, to get eyeballs back on New Zealand, to have the doors open for business, this to me is just one of those things that, look, it attracts visitors. And it's something that you can put out there. Look, and I go into the column as well, Hamish, that, we spend an awful lot of money, the government does, promoting sport when it wants to, when it fits the agenda and the politics of whatever party is in power. We saw it with the Commonwealth Games. I mean, how many government officials and politicians went up there and lauded and rubbed themselves all over those wins because it looks great. We see it with the America's Cup. However many hundreds of millions, if not billions, have been spent on the infrastructure around Auckland as well as on that event. I just don't get why motorsport is a dirty word when it comes to this, but it is.
Do we have a sense as to how much might be needed to secure World Rally here? Do we have any sort of sense?
Well, they're only saying a few $1 million. They're not saying hundreds of millions of dollars. So, I mean, this is the other thing. We're quite happily, as I've pointed out, I said a $300 million merger between RNZ and TVNZ. I think it's up to $370 million now. You got to ask yourself, really, we've got money to burn and spend on that, on something that is effectively just creating a new logo and a whole lot of advertising agencies getting rich. This thing, the Rally of New Zealand, whether you like it or not, personally makes no difference. I mean, I look at WOW, and WOW doesn't interest me at all. I don't know whether there's somebody in your life that says to you, Hamish, we need to go down to Wellington and book some tickets for WOW, and I can hear the groan from your place and your head in your hands going, I can't think of anything more god-awful boring in my life. But that's just me. However, if you want to go to it and pay money, and I love the fact it attracts tourism, attracts visitors and everything else. It's just not my thing. Now, as far as motorsport goes, not all motorsport is my thing, but I can certainly sit there and appreciate and say, wow, hundreds and something thousand people at Pukekohe, tens of thousands in the pouring rain going out to watch the rally. The numbers don't lie. And not only that, those people are voters.
I was going to ask,
as a lot of councillors and mayors around the country discovered this weekend, didn't they?
Yeah, I was going to ask if we have much of an idea as to how big the local fan base as well, sort of putting aside the tourism aspects, but obviously there's quite a lot of local interest as well.
Yeah, look, I mean, you don't have to try and sell out the supercars, do you? It does it itself. I mean, rugby here is trumpeting the fact that an All Black test sells out these days. Well, in days gone by, that's not news. An All Black test does sell out. I mean, here, and I'll have to whisper this one, Hamish, because just in case anyone from Wellington is listening, but what about another street race? Because that was really popular at the time too. Oh, see, look at the reaction from you. And this is the hypocrisy of it, isn't it? That, as I say, put aside the personal prejudices and look at what is actually good. Is it good for the city? Is it good for the country? Is it good for all of these people who love it and enjoy it? And just because you may not personally like it, you've got to remove all of that from the decision-making process.
All right. Well, the Minister of Common Sense has spoken. Martin, thanks very much for your time.
I rubber stabbed it, yes.